Gives me a chance to at least screen some of the potential clients well in advance. When I see somebody who essentially comes to me with a major conspiracy theory and that everyone's out to get them, and they've gotten to the point where Child Protective Services are involved, and that's far beyond anything I can do, and chances are the attorney is probably the last person they really need. It should be some very professional counseling. And it gives me a chance to get through those cases and situations. It gives me a chance to at least screen them, make contact with people who really sometimes don't know what it is they're asking for. I've had parents ask for guardianships of their kids who are minors, and that kind of sorts itself out, for example, because as parents of minors, you are the guardian. So that kind of takes care of that problem. But people get kind of caught up in legal terminology, and it gets us a chance to talk to people, kind of get them on the right track. A lot of times they don't need our help. They don't need an attorney. They just need very minimal intervention of a couple forms or something like that. And that's really part of the thing that we do is we tell them, look, here's the forms, fill these out, get them notarized, and you'll have something called power of attorney over a child for 6 months. I won't charge them for that. And when it comes time for something a little more in depth, a lot of times they've come back and said, okay, well, we've got something else now. And that kind of builds up practice. We have people who come back every now and then. Well, it makes it so that it's flexible. I don't have to go pounding the doors, which we really shouldn't be doing. And more importantly, the advertising equivalent, it takes that place real quickly by having a referral system in place. So from my standpoint, it works pretty well. The thing that we warn people, and I tell people, they ask about legal match type things, is that you are not getting millionaires coming to the door. There's a whole line of practice that gears for them. People who will represent them, that's no problem. They'll just charge for every dropped pencil that they have to pick up. But in terms of the reality of giving people services that most people really need, that's what we're here for. And it gives a good way to get them in touch with an attorney, because a lot of them would have no idea how to do it otherwise. People still have problems. Nebraska was not really locked up, so it kind of put a scare in people. Unfortunately, it put a lot of people in close contact with each other with no release mechanism. And as a result, we have issues about child custody and divorces that come popping up. That's kind of how it really affected our situation. And that actually was not as much as I thought it would be. The problems that people have with each other, exactly the same regardless of the COVID situation. People who shouldn't have had kids, never got married, things like that. And then one of them kidnaps the kid, and now we have a fight going. So in a lot of respects, COVID didn't do much, but you can see a little bit of the effect. The features are, like I say, the listing allows you to maintain contact with potential clients. We have their phone numbers. Some of them won't give you any information. You may hear just an inquiry once and send it out. I had one that was a no-name request for information. I responded to it, had no way to know who it was because they have that option. 2 years later, I get a call. And they said, well, do you remember me? And I said, well, I remember your situation. And so it helped me a lot there. The features, again, it keeps a running list of things that you've done, people you've responded to, people you have determined not to respond to. Sometimes it helps to go back and take a look at what's been going on in the past. So it's a lot of features there. They help you put as much or as little of a profile as you really need to on the webpage so people have an idea who they're talking to. That's the nice part. I've had people send a response to, and they say, well, I Googled you. Well, that's interesting because I've never Googled myself. I don't know. I guess I'm not that interested in myself, I guess. But they know my history, they know my background, they know where I'm from. Periodically, I get somebody who comes from Minnesota, which kind of surprises me. But that's how it works. And so it's been a useful tool if you know how to use it. If you think you have a problem, you can get a lot of things squared away through them. I had somebody, and I usually am not paying close attention to the reviews, and usually, most people say something nice. But I had a client who got kind of a slam from, and I thought, well, that's odd. And oddly enough, he was unhappy about something. I think it was the fact that he had to go through the process. And I just simply put in a response, and it wasn't anything that I did or he did. It was actually his son who did it to him. But it helps. You can use the account managers to help put out your best foot forward, rely on their suggestions for what you want to stress about your practice, where you're at, any number of things that the account managers usually have a pretty good idea of how to help you present yourself. That kind of comes and goes. That's the odd part. I get notifications a lot that somebody is looking for something. So take the time and effort to respond. And I kind of don't want to pressure them too hard. I know that there's a theory, there's a train of thought that says, yeah, go after them right away. I let them sit on it for a little bit and then we'll follow up. But it's been very helpful in terms of the leads, in terms of people who are looking for information and being able to screen them out. They come in rather consistently. Now, the problem oftentimes is that you're going to get a kind of a time period, usually from Thanksgiving through New Year's, where things get a little slack. And the reason why is because they're spending their money. And a lot of times they don't have a whole lot. The holidays and Christmas and so on. And then after the first of the year, all of a sudden, well, the pressure's off. The pressure to be civil for the holidays for the kids or whatever reason it is, that's now off. Their tax returns are coming in and they say, I've been looking to do this for a long time, so let's get it done. So in that regards, yeah, we get a lot of people coming in. It's kind of a consistent thing, but right about now, we're getting a lot of people now. You have to give yourself about a 5 to 10% response rate. That's been my experience. You let people know. A lot of times they say they'll set up a time for a phone call. They'll tell you, call me at such and such time. No answer. Never hear from them again. Just how it is. Again, at least you responded. Sometimes they won't respond until several months down the road. It's hard to tell you exactly how many people will call back. I always say if you get 5 to 10% of participation in terms of actual talking to people, you're doing pretty good. In terms of once you've gotten them talked to, give them an outline of where you're going, a lot of times they'll go with you. And that's just kind of how it works. I really don't know. I've been with Legal Match for quite a while now. I know that the local bar association has something. I'm not sure. And I know there was another one that talked to me years ago. But in terms of other referral services, I really don't know. I've never really used them. Legal Match is a great referral service for you. Again, be realistic, work with people. I mean, this takes a lot of people skills. This takes a lot of hand-holding sometimes. Be aware of that. These are people who really need some help sometimes. And don't be afraid. Sometimes there's going to be a case that comes through that you know darn well there's no way they're going to afford really the extent of what you have to do. And yet there's something about the client that just speaks to you in terms of what you're doing. Sometimes it's a situation that maybe it wouldn't be the client, but this is a situation that needs to be taken care of. Just be aware that there are these things out there. You're going to meet people you don't expect to meet, and you're going to be doing things you don't expect to do. So that's what I tell people with Legal Match. It's a very comprehensive referral service, and you get every variation in the world. You have people who are very competent, people who you probably should avoid. So it's like anything else. Just know how to deal with it. Just make the contacts. Be surprised. One client that I got looked like he was in a horrible situation. Had been arrested, domestic abuse, all sorts of bad things. And the divorce case, of course, starts. And so the family had gotten hold of me to handle the divorce. Unfortunately, he had a public defender for the criminal case. And after talking to this gentleman about 2 or 3 times, getting documents signed and so on, it seemed like he did not have kind of the attitude that I remember from people in his situation when I was prosecuting them. And so that switched over from just a divorce to a fairly large retainer for the criminal case. And we worked finally something out with the prosecution. And he's really kind of a success story for not sending someone to prison if you can spot what you're looking for. So some things come from use of legal match that you don't expect. Some things usually are pretty straightforward. But I've been very pleased with some of the things that come around later on from the same clients or just an offshoot of the different clients. The thing, you have to be realistic here. The people who come to Legal Match usually have absolutely no, and I do mean no, experience with counsel, with attorneys. And sometimes you have people whose experience when you talk to them has not been good. And I've substituted in for counsel on several cases. You have people who have tried to do their own divorce, for example, until it gets in front of the judge and he says, okay, well, it's fine, good, you've settled everything up, it sounds like. Where's the parenting plan? Where's this, that, and the other? And they sit and look at each other, lost, The judge says, well, you have a month, come back and when you get this done. That's when I hand them a card and say, hey, get hold of me. Do that. They'll expect something through Legal Match. You have to be understanding that they're not going to be really high, well paid, but it gives you a foot in if you're just starting out to get used to dealing with clients in this new online system and finding something. Nothing is easy at the start, never is. But it's a good source for a lot of things. That's what I tell people. It's a good start. But be realistic. The people who come to us through Legal Match, no experience with attorneys, and they walk into a big law office and stuff like that, and sticker shock kills them. I don't have a law office other than working from my home office. I make better coffee than the law firms. I don't make them pay for bad artwork on the walls or music on the speakers. So from my standpoint, my client's standpoint, they're happy. But you just know what you have to offer them and be realistic about what to expect from them. That's the only thing I can tell people.